2016, joining the European Le Mans Series paddock across 6 rounds in total when you include the Le Mans round, which will be a 1-hour race on Saturday morning, but we'll concern ourselves for the moment with a 2-hour race later on today. And to set ourselves up for that, a qualifying session split across 2 15-minute portions. So welcome along, welcome to Imola. My name's Johnny Palmer, and delighted to say that I'm joined by the dailysportscar.com editor Graham Goodwin for, well, an inaugural session for a brand new championship, Graham. And I was really excited when this was announced, the back end of 2015, which sort of separated what was GTC from the main European Le Mans Series entry into its own GT3 category.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Johnny. It's a brave new world, isn't it, for the ACO? It takes the GT3 cars out of the bottom rung of the European Le Mans Series, gives them their own show, if you like. That's in part to accommodate the massive growth in LMP3 in the ELMS race we'll see tomorrow, the 4 hours there. But GT3 cars will be very familiar to motorsport fans around the world. Spectacular cars, around 600 brake horsepower from these cars, depending on the balance of performance that's doled out. And whilst it might be low in numbers for this opening round, it is going to improve through the year. The number 88 Mentos Porsche there, we'll talk about that car in just a little while. Lots of variety amongst the 10.
Well, that's the one thing we do have, yes, a small but perfectly formed grid. We were due to have 11 cars here this weekend. In fact, there have been 11 cars here at certain points this weekend. Sad to say, though, that the Triple F racing team Lamborghini Huracan, which was crashed yesterday, or the day before, in fact, has, it looks like, been officially withdrawn. Triple F still here with a McLaren, and it was actually great to head down to their area in the paddock to see two very different motor cars that look striking in their livery, but sadly the number 5 car either too heavily damaged or for other reasons that car's been withdrawn. So down to a single bullet in the gun, if you like, for Triple F racing team by ACM. They're here with their number 55 McLaren 650S for Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Adrian Quaife-Hobbs. There is a split, Graham, in the driver designation for these cars. You have to run with a bronze driver, and then you can ably assist those bronze drivers with maximum of a gold driver. But interestingly, this session, it has to be a bronze qualifying the car. It is actually the gentleman driver, if you like. It will be gentleman drivers, the bronze ranked guys here, who effectively are paying for this, it should be said, are the ones who the weight of qualifying sits on their shoulders. Worth a quick chat about the car we're looking at on the screen at the moment, though, John. It's the number 88 car. This is a brand new 2016 spec Porsche 911 GT3R, the very latest GT3 car coming from the Porsche Motorsports factory. You'll see, at least on one side of the car, the rollers for Mentos Racing, and yes, it is that Mentos. It is very much the Mentos that you might actually have a tube of these in your pocket, whether it's the fruity ones or the minty ones, and that's because the Mentos brand, as well as a couple of others. I know you were looking up on the internet, weren't you, Johnny? Is it Chupa Chups and Smint, amongst others? That's it.
That's in the family company of the Perfetti family, and that's again a name that will be familiar to GT race fans. Daniele Perfetti, ex-British GT champion. This is his older brother, Egidio, and immediate trouble for the McLaren, and that's another problem for another Triple F car. The 55 car spinning off into the gravel, back to the track now, facing the wrong way. Let's look again what happened there.
Adrian Quaife-Hobbs on board in the 55, it's displaying, so although that may now have been corrected. And no, it still says Quaife-Hobbs. That's an unusual error, if indeed it is Adrian on board the 55 car, but he's not the bronze, is he?
He's not the bronze, so it shouldn't be Adrian. It should, in the 55 car, that should be Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the McLaren.
It is, by the way, Egidio Perfetti on board the number 88 Porsche that we've caught several glances of now. It's a team entered from the Netherlands. We were having a word with Pascal, who...
But based in Switzerland.
Based in Switzerland, but yeah, the... Dutch tricolour adorns Mentos Racing on the entry list. Now, Daniele was always Swiss, as far as I could gather, but Egidio actually listed as Norwegian, so I'm not sure whether they were born in different countries, but
it's possible.
There's not a great deal of years between them. But as you say, Daniele Perfetti, 2012 British GT champion with Michael Caine in a Porsche. Remember that car? It was run by Motorbase, I think, in 2012.
This car is certainly pushing on. it should be said. And if this is Giulio Perfetti, it's a 1:45.665 is the time, and that's a mighty hill to climb for the rest. Minty fresh, certainly, this car. Pure white. Nothing boring and white about this Porsche.
No, indeed. But yeah, Egidio Perfetti listed as driving the 88. We have Luigi Lucchini, the home man, sharing with his Italian compatriot Matteo Cressoni this weekend. Cressoni is a silver graded driver, Lucchini the bronze, so he's on board. The 19 car driven by Nigel Moore, who is the silver rated driver, so we expected to see Philip Hansen in that car, but the Audi number 19 up to third quickest in this initial qualifying session. The way things
it has just corrected itself to Hamaguchi in the McLaren.
So do we therefore assume that it's not Nigel on board the Audi from Tocqueville Motorsports, but in fact Philip Hansen in the R8 LMS? This is an initial 15-minute session, and then it'll be super pole for the top 10 cars. But of course,
again with the bronze drivers.
Again with the bronze drivers in. For this opening round, we'd expected to have 11 cars, but actually it's just 10 on the entry, so they'll all be in to the Super Pole regardless.
I'm going to correct you, there's actually 12 cars here because, of course, we lost a Ferrari with Delano not able to actually take to the track either.
And
so
that yellow Ferrari hasn't run now, has it?
Has not run,
no.
So it's here, but it's not able to run this weekend. So there are encouraging signs of more than mild recovery as this championship actually progresses.
Yeah, Rui Aguas was down to drive that car as well, which would have been a sight to see around the 3 miles of Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari. But yeah, it's a strange sort of start to the season, I suppose, because you've got this round on its own, then you've got the 1 hour on Saturday morning at Le Mans, and then the season proper starts the other side from Austria, doesn't it?
You do, and the Road to Le Mans race, that's what it's dubbed for Saturday morning at the Le Mans 24 Hours, not part of the series proper. But certainly it's a mighty incentive to very many of the guys we're looking at this morning. This is the additional car that we didn't have initially entered. This is the Classic and Sports Car, Classic and Modern Racing Ferrari 458. And this is Nicolas Michelin, who's raced before in the European Le Mans Series. And he's going to be partnered by Mathieu Vazevière. And there are going to be, when we get to talk about the pro drivers, Johnny, there are some cracking drivers in this lineup amongst this 10. And some very familiar names and faces indeed.
Yeah, Klaas Bechler, a busy boy this weekend, with a 4 hours of the European Le Mans Series to do tomorrow, and a 2-hour race later on today, which runs, by the way, from 5 p.m. local time until 7 o'clock. But you also have Adrian Quaife-Hobbs, Francesco Castellacci, who was a regular in GTC in the ELMS last year, Ewan Hankey, back with his regular driving partner Salih Yoluk, the Turkish driver, Johnny Molam, no less, with Ivor Dunbar, Nigel Moore, as I've mentioned, Matteo Cressoni. Sadly, we don't see Andrea Caldarelli, who would have been driving the Lamborghini. But yes, there are some names to moisten the mouth there.
Talk a little bit about this car. This is the number 8 BMS Scuderia Italia car, sorry, the number 7 Scuderia Italia car. Famous team, and the Lucchini name, a famous name in sports car racing as well. But BMS Scuderia Italia, as long ago as 1991, Johnny, taking a podium here in the San Marino Grand Prix with JJ Leto, this very same team. It's been in the hands of the Lucchini family throughout. It's something I think it's fair to say it's something of a shadow of its former self, but they've been out in Italian GT racing over the last couple of seasons in these Ferraris, Ferrari 458 GT3 Italias, and now having a bit of a crack at the Michelin GT3 Le Mans Cup. Will not see this car, though, I gather, at the Le Mans support race. So a bit of a chase here, though. This is the TF Sport Aston Martin V12 Vantage GT3 with the Mentos Porsche just right there in its wheel tracks. But the Aston Martin in the hands of Salih Yoluk, Turkish driver, number 34 car. They'll be bringing a second Aston Martin to several of the races this year, including Le Mans. And beautifully presented, this car. TF Sport, based in Kent, in the UK. And a busy year for them, not just this programme, but also the International GT Open and the British GT Championship, and they're double race winners now in that championship, with another of their small fleet of these GT3 Aston Martins.
We perhaps shouldn't be surprised at Egidio's pace French though, Giulio Perfetti, done a lot of Porsche racing in recent years, including some stuff in the Super Cup, which is Formula 1 type level, and also Carrera Cup in Asia and in France too, so knows the 911 from front to back very easily indeed, and this is his first venture in the 991 spec GT3. Meanwhile, this is one of the AF Corsa Ferraris, Graham.
And this is one of the brand new Ferrari 488 GT3s, the twin turbo V8 cars, number 51. AF Corsa almost always have a 51 car somewhere, the VistaJet sponsored car, and that's in recognition of the backing from Thomas Fleur, owns the car, runs this effort.
And compare that to the older model. This is the 458, also running out of the AF Corsa stable.
It is, and this is the 71 car. It's another of the numbers we often see on an AF Corsa Ferrari.
So Philippe Barreros could be at the wheel, or they could have put Mads Rasmussen in the wheel.
It's Barreros is shown.
But they did have a decision to make there, because both listed as bronze graded drivers, so that's the only team in the field that could have put either driver in. And it's the Portuguese Barreros, who did a full season of ELMS in GTC last year, so continuing on, but in its separate championship now, the Michelin GT3 Le Mans Cup.
It's from a distance, it's fair to say that perhaps more difficult to tell between these two cars. There you go, there's the 488 to the fore, the 458 to the rear, but much more aggressive looking aero on the newer car. We're going to miss the absolute wail of that normally aspirated V8. You and I went trackside here, Johnny, for the ELMS, and ear-splitting stuff from the Ferrari V8s around here. It's certainly a little more muted from the turbo cars.
Yeah, we're about 50 miles away from Maranello at this Imola circuit. You just get the feeling that Ferraris were built to be raced around here, and particularly when we're in the tribune, the noise of those cars bounces from the walls into the grandstand, and it is a full-on bodily experience. I don't think I could have lasted the full 4 hours there. I was feared for my eardrums, to be honest.
The number 88 car gets a little attention on pit road. It still sits top of the timing screens for this first part of what we believe is going to be a two-part qualifying session. 144.455 was the last lap. It's 143.743 from Perfetti to top timing screens, around 0.4 of a second quicker than Luigi Lucchini, who's also now pitted in the number 7 BMS Scuderia Italia Ferrari 458.
So just a minute to go now of this first portion of the session, but all the 10 cars will get another 15 minutes, but no change of driver. So the 88 is the quickest at the moment, at 143.7 from the number 7 Ferrari, and the number 34 Tom Ferrier Sport Aston Martin. Plenty of curb there being used by Philippe Barreros, and we'll keep a watchful eye on his time. Last time around was able to go quicker than he's managed so far in the session, a 145.6 to beat. It's quite a run down to the finish line there, and doesn't go any quicker. But we did see some improvement though from Nicolas Michelin on that lap, of 143.5.
Yeah, had to deal with getting by the VistaJet sponsored 488 on that lap, so it may well be that we see a quicker time this time. He's going to get one more go in this section of the qualifying session. Mr. Lucchini, meanwhile, is reported to the stewards as speeding on pit lane. It's a bit of a learning curve for a number of the teams and the drivers this early in a new championship with new regulations. We may see a little bit more of this. Checkered flag is out, but the cars that are on this lap will be allowed to complete the lap. At the moment, it's Porsche from the number 7 Ferrari, then Sally Ullich in the Aston Martin, third quickest at the moment, then the McLaren. Nicolas Michelin has pitted and will do no better than 5th, but we have 4 cars still out there, the Audi and 3 Ferraris, and will anybody be able to improve? Virgil Moore shown as taking the checkered flag, but I suspect that's not him, and does no better than 7th, so it is going to be about whether or not Felipe Barreros, I think, who looks the quicker of the guys out there at the moment, Johnny, can actually go any higher up the order than 6th.
Philippe has been warned about track limits on the exit of Variante Alta, by the way. That's the chicane at the top portion of the circuit, and I noticed all 4 wheels off again on the exit of that corner for this lap, and at the exit of turn 19, which is Rivazza 2. So he's had the warning. Depending on whether the stewards need to take that any further, we'll call him across the line, and that is an improvement. A 1:45.3 puts the number 71 Ferrari up to 5th fastest, but he did run wide out of Variante Alta. And clearly the observers and the stewards watching two drivers' behaviour around this narrow circuit, but there are a few places that you can run off wide and gain on your lap time. But 15 minutes gone very, very quickly indeed there, it felt like. Egidio Perfetti in the number 88 car quickest, a 1:43.7, and has nearly 4/10 on Luigi Lucchini in the number 7 Ferrari. 34, that's the Aston Martin, driven by Sally Yoloch, was 3rd fastest, a 1:44.6 from Hamaguchi in 4th position. And here is confirmation of the time. So nearly a second back to the TF Sport Aston. The Triple F Racing team by ACM McLaren, car 55, was 4th fastest from the best of the AF Corsa Ferraris. Then the number 26 Classic and Modern Racing Ferrari, that's the relatively late entered Nicolas Mislan driven car. The Audi from Tocqueville Motorsports, probably driven by Philip Hansen, although on our screen it said Nigel Moore. Should have been Hansen in the number 19 car. Was 7th fastest from Thomas Fleur from Ivor Dunbar, and then 10th fastest was the number 8 car of Cedric Nezar, who was piloting the Scuderia Villorba Corsa number 8 Ferrari. So drivers stay in the cars. A little bit of chatter down at Mentos Racing. Perhaps some advice to Egidio Perfetti, but he's doing pretty well so far to keep at a safe distance Lucchini and Sally Yoloch. But the drivers that didn't do so well in that session will have learnt a fair bit about how the track is behaving at the moment. There'll be a fair bit of Michelin rubber that was put down onto the track's surface over the last 15 minutes, so it'll be grippier. We're getting a bit more heat in the day. It's nearly 11:40 local time, so it is getting warmer out there. Chance of showers later on today, but definite blue sky above us, so when the clouds clear, it is a nice day out there, typically Italian. What we didn't expect was the level of precipitation forecast for this weekend.
No, but that appears to be going away for tomorrow. We look like we're going to get a dry race for the European Le Mans Series. Now, what we're expecting against the rules at the moment is effectively that became another a short free practice session, because the times to the grid will be set in the 15 minutes session to follow very shortly. And it should be said, on form, Mr. Perfetti looks like he's going to be tricky to beat.
Yes, when we have a few more cars, that first session will just be a means of getting into the all-important top 10 shootout, the Super Pole. But in the very early stages of this cup, I suppose we call it, rather than a championship, all 10 go through, and as I say, 2 other cars waiting in the wings. Sadly, a badly damaged Lamborghini Huracan that we expect to be at Le Mans for the Road to Le Mans race on the Saturday morning and for the rest of the championship. And we have at least one more AF Corsa Ferrari to add into the mix as well. Thankfully, not another red Ferrari. It looks like it's going to be in the yellow livery that it's become familiar to me, certainly over the last few seasons in the European Le Mans Series. And Adrien Delena not here this weekend, but down to be racing that car.
Well, we'll wait and see. I suspect we're going to be heading rather more towards a double-figure number with a 2 at the start by the end of this season. It's been a bit of a slow burn, but for this championship, John, it should be said there is one heck of a prize fund. The winner of the championship overall is €100,000.
Wow!
To win the championship, plus an entry in GT Am for the 2017 Le Mans 24 Hours proper.
And of course you'd need to find a GTE car to take part in that race. No GT3s permitted in the 24 hours, but that's partly the reason why GT3s are running this year on Saturday morning, along with LMP3s, which is the relatively new prototype category introduced last year. We have 20 of those for the European Le Mans Series this weekend. It takes place tomorrow. 20 Ligier JSP3s, but the green flag is being waved, as you can see, around this 4.9 kilometre Imola circuit. So we're back into qualifying mode proper this time. This is Super Pole, so whoever goes quickest over the next 14 and a bit minutes will start from pole position later on today. It'll be a 2-hour race, run into the evening. This place seems to really generate some atmosphere as the heat dissipates slightly and people start to get into a Saturday night mood. So Saturday night racing here at Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Indino Ferrari. Really looking forward to the opening round of this Michelin GT3 Le Mans Cup. There's Egidio Perfetti then on an out lap. And 15 minutes does fly by pretty quickly when you consider you've got to get round first of all. You know, your flying lap will only start with 13 minutes to go. So it's a handful of laps.
It's a tiny number of laps. We've got a couple of competitors at the moment in a little bit of trouble with the stewards. We'll have a look at that. I think we may have two cars that went back to the paddock, which is not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to actually stay where their pit setup is, set up in the pit lane. That is not within the regulations, so we'll keep an eye on that. That appears to be the FF Corsa Ferrari and the Top with Motorsport Audi, and not the first time Top with Audi has done it.
See, this is where I'm pleased that you and I sat down this morning over a cup of coffee and read through the regulations. It sounds like one or two other people in the paddock maybe missed that.
May have missed that. Here we go then. This is Egidio Perfetti as he crosses the line to start what will be the first flying lap of the 15-minute Super Pole.
It's a great noise, that car, doesn't it? Heading through Tamburello and now on to Variante Villeneuve. This fast sequence of chicanes, it's very easy to get it wrong here. We've had one or two incidents this morning in free practice too for the ELMS, but a clean run through there for Egidio Perfetti, and important to get this corner right, Tosa, because it determines your top speed up the hill to the highest point of the circuit at Piratella. So out over the rise and then the plunge down into Acqua Minerale. Classic bit of the circuit. It has changed the route through this portion over the years, but hard braking, that kink there, you have to brake and turn right and set the car up for the much more acute angle of the bottom of Minerale. Be careful of those curbs on the right hand side, also be careful of these curbs as well, as that Porsche skips up on the left hand side. And that's where some of the drivers have been pinged for track limits on the exit. And then into Rivazza. Went down to have a quick view of that portion of the circuit yesterday, and again surprised just how close some of the residential housing is to this portion of the circuit. Imola circuit is just wedged into the town, isn't it? It's one of those classic places. First run, I think, in about 1953 as a semi-permanent track, and has very quickly turned itself into a classic.
So 1:44.799 is Egidio Perfetti's first, Egidio Perfetti, apologise, first effort in this Super Bowl qualifying. I suspect the only time he lost there was with that big skip over the curbs. A completely clear lap. Here comes the number 55 Triple F Racing McLaren 650S GT3. Turbo V8 powered, all four wheels off, I'm afraid, there briefly for Hamaguchi-san.
Yeah, so Hamaguchi will know about certain limits of the car, having had a moment in the first portion of qualifying. Thankfully, it was just a dip into the gravel and the car was able to rejoin with no damage. It had a bit of an off as well earlier on in the week and scooped up a load of stones, but the work on this car far easier to sort than it was on the number 5 Lamborghini Huracan that Triple F Racing have brought to Imola. So we'll see that Lambo later on in the season. Let's have a look at the line for the McLaren into Acqua Minerale. Braking and turning at the same time, and again important to get the exit right as you climb uphill over the brow, and at the last minute Variante Alta comes into sight. Difficult to pick your braking point into this right-left chicane.
Good looking car, GT car, this thing, a great looking livery. Triple F Racing moving out of GT Asia in the GT3 Championship in Southeast Asia principally, and coming to Europe with this this two-car effort. Sadly, we aren't going to see that Lamborghini for the remainder of the weekend, but we get a good close look at their McLaren, and comes through now to complete a second flying lap. 1:46.720, good enough for third place at the moment. Can he improve on that? And he does, goes second quickest, 1:45.0. But Perfetti, meanwhile, has gone quicker still, Johnny.
Yeah, on his third lap, he's got down to the 1:43.9s. So at the moment, has pole position with a second in hand, 1.1 seconds back to Hamaguchi.
It's 5 different makes in the top 5 positions, though. It is Porsche from McLaren, Audi, Ferrari and Aston Martin, with the remainder of the field completed by all the remaining Ferraris. But the variety is working. It's the first chance we've got to have a good look at the top with Motorsport Audi R8 LMS, British entered car. And Nigel Moore, who's the pro driver in this car, has something of a record behind him. Multiple championship winning driver in the UK in both Ginettas and then in Formula Palmer Audi. And I believe the youngest British driver ever to compete at the Le Mans 24 Hours. And he did it in an LMP1 car with Team LNT and a Ginetta Zytek.
Yeah, that was in 2009 with Richard Dean, the head honcho at United Autosports, and Lawrence Tomlinson, who owns Ginetta. And Nigel is now 24 years old, from Tockwith, hence the team name. Family
actually based within the confines of the Tockwith Raceway kart track up in Yorkshire. And this previous generation of Audi R8 LMS, but still an effective weapon. Big V10 engine at the back, same engine of actually as we see in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3s.
Yeah, the two cars share quite a few similar parts. This is the Aston, though, and is the only front engine car in the field.
It is.
I'm right in that. It's V12 Vantage GT3, and with the now very easily spottable livery from TF Sport. I really like the livery on that car with the piping, the day-glow yellow piping and the door mirrors to match.
And if Sally Yullock can keep this together, he's got 2 purple sectors, the first 2 sectors on this lap, and could go to pole position. A much quicker lap from Sally Yullock, and the Porsche meanwhile is back in the pits with attention to the rear, or just deciding whether or not they're going to bolt some new tyres on. Thomas Fleur's gone 3rd quickest in the Ferrari 488, the 51 car. Here comes Sally Yullock.
Rivazza dealt with the double apex left-hander to end the lap. Over the line he goes then. He's gone purple through the first 2 sectors. Doesn't go purple through sector 3, but he still does enough. Taking provisional pole by 0.3 of a second. A 1:43.6 then for Sally Yullock. And at the moment, Egidio Perfetti in the pit lane, so not able to offer a reply. He's got 6 minutes in order to do so. Still on the front row. So it's an Aston Porsche front row from McLaren Ferrari second row, and then Ferrari and an Audi on the 3rd row. The other Ferraris, well, 1 or 2 of them haven't set competitive times yet. We're waiting for Nicola Mislan. Actually, he's done so now, done a 1:49.4. So the squeeze is on here between the fastest car and the slowest, as going purple there through sector 3 is Hamaguchi in the number 55 McLaren. So that's a respectable time, and does improve to a 1:43.9, Graham.
Just 64 thousandths off the time set by the Porsche that now is only good enough for second fastest in this session. Beginning to hot up a bit now, isn't it? It's Aston Martin from Porsche, McLaren, then the number 7 Ferrari, Luigi Lucchini, another man who's improved in the last lap or so. Then Thomas Fleur drops back a place to 5th in the Ferrari 488, and now Philip Hansen does show on the timing screens. It's not Nigel Moore in the Audi, and the best he can do at the moment is 6th.
So Egidio Perfetti feeling the need to go out again to try to improve, so he goes out onto the track. This is Hamaguchi, this is the 34 car rather, which is driven by Yolok at the moment on lap 5, and goes quicker again through sector 1. It's a moderate sector 2. What can Sally do though through the final sector as the Aston heads over the line with that huge rear wing? It's a 1:43.9, so he doesn't improve but stays in provisional pole. 0.3 of a second the margin back to Perfetti, and Perfetti will take a bit of time for him to head around on his outlap. Squeal a tyre from somewhere. That might have just been the Aston pushing again.
Back out though comes Egidio Perfetti to have another crack at this, and he must fancy his chances. Is that car in the order he would like it to be? It certainly looked it, didn't it? I wonder whether or not he damaged a tyre over that curb, and that's what we were looking at there, but I think that's where he lost some time in his previous run. He's winding up for one in the last 4 minutes of this 15-minute Super Bowl. So Sally Yullock from Gidio Perfetti, Hamaguchi, Lucchini, Fleur, Meslin, Barreros, Hansen, Mezard and Dunbar.
Certainly pays these teams, though, to get a quick bronze driver. Often they're the ones funding the challenge. Ooh, tail skipping out there a little bit for Perfetti. And bear in mind, this is an outlap, so it's really here that he starts to push. But important to get a good run through Rivazza as he virtually goes off the track there over the white line onto what is effectively grasscrete. It's concrete there, and you can swing very close to the wall there as well through turn one. So the fast lap starts proper here. Meanwhile, Sally Yollock was able to improve again through sector one, but we need to keep our eye out for Luigi Lucchini, who's gone quicker than anyone through sector one. It's a personal best time through sector two, so this could be impressive from the number 7 car. It's the best place Ferrari as we stand. Can Luigi get it into the top 3? Little bit ragged through Rivazza 1 though.
Perfetti quicker still though through sector 1. Yollock matches the time of the number 7 through sector 1. This is going to be right to the end of this 15-minute session. Here comes Lucchini.
Ran out wide of Rivazza as well, but goes second nevertheless. It's another PB through sector 3, so blue through all sectors, and a 1:43.6 then is his just desserts. But Perfetti quicker than anyone through sector 1, so has dropped to the second row now in the 88 Porsche. Need a reply from the Norwegian, as Hamaguchi is still out there and circulating. He's just put in a personal best time through sector 1 as well.
The margins here, Johnny, are tiny. It's 4 thousandths of a second, Luigi Lucchini, off the pole position time, the provisional pole of Sally Yollock, and only 3/10 that Gidio Perfetti has to find. Let's keep an eye on how he's doing. He's gone through sector 1 in a purple, fastest overall of the session, faster than he's been before through sector 2. As we now come to the end of the lap, can he grab a front row position? Can he grab pole position in the number 88 Porsche?
90 seconds to go, but what's the time from Perfetti? He does improve, but it doesn't improve his position, so 1:43.8. His time stays third, but behind Lucchini in the number 7 BMS Scuderia Italia Ferrari, and provisional pole is still TF Sport with their Aston and Sally Yollock doing the driving.
The number 55 McLaren is on pit lane and is done for this session, as is the number 8. That is the Scuderia Valour Corsa Ferrari of Cedric Mezard. But the rest of the runners, the other 8 cars still out there, still pushing very hard indeed. Quick sector 1 from Perfetti, not the quickest, but we're dealing here in a 10th one way or another.
Lucchini goes quickest though in the 7. Lucchini going quickest, a personal best through sectors 1 and 2, an absolute best through the final sector, and Lucchini's found even more time through the sequence of left-handers at Rivazza, the first car to break the 1:43 margin. It's a 1:42.9. That's 7/10 of a second quicker than the Aston.
That puts almost a full second of pressure on this Porsche in what will be the last flying lap. Is there anything left there for Gidio Perfetti? He improves his time by 3/10 of a second in sector 2, but can he do anything in sector 3? That is a mighty hill to climb, isn't it, Johnny?
Well, Luigi is beginning that climb up towards Piratella. The cars crest the rise and then hard onto the brakes for the corner proper, then plunge downhill into that natural amphitheatre at Acqua Minerale. Past the Peacocks on your left-hand side, hard onto the brakes, and there's a brilliant grandstand there. Plenty of people actually at the top of that grandstand, I notice, having a good view of that sequence of corners. So checkered flag is out. First car over the line is Gidio Perfetti. He does improve, so up to second place. That's the best he can hope for, Graham.
And that would have been pole had it not been for the improvement from the Ferrari, because he took it was 0.305 off that lead. It was 0.304 was the gap before we saw the pole setting lap from the number 7 car. He would have been on pole position by 1/1000th of a second, but Lucchini, I'm afraid, leapfrogged that base mark and pits now as the pole position setter for this race.
So decides that lap was not going to be an improvement. I think that was a fair assessment. Luigi needs to be a little bit careful because there is a message on the screen saying that car 7 must respect the track limits. This time, not at Variante Alta, but the corner before, so the exit of Acqui Minerali as they climb up towards the high chicane.
Was his only warning though, and there were others that got several before having a lap time withdrawn in the case of Felipe Barreros.
Yeah, in the 71, and he'd been warned several times. I think it was all out of turn 15, which is the exit of Variante Alta. Sally Yolok, though, clambers out of the Aston Martin. Must be pleased with that work, although a little disappointed to have had pole position at certain points in that session, then been bumped down to third place. So at the moment, it looks like it'll be Ferrari on pole here in Italy, alongside a Porsche, the brand new 991 spec GT3. Sally Yolok looking like he will start from third position in the number 34 Aston Martin, and then Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the McLaren. So Ferrari, Porsche, Aston, McLaren, 4 different marks in the top 4, and then 3 more Ferraris on the grid. Thomas Fleur, Nicolas Mislat and Philippe Barreros will all gang up on the top 4 runners heading into that first corner later on today. This Charlie George is down there in readiness to have a word with Luigi Lucchini and offer her congratulations. A 1:42.905, the pole position time, and the only person that came close was Egidio Perfetti, going 0.7 of a second slower.
I'm down here with Luigi. Luigi, congratulations, you've taken the first pole position for the Le Mans GT3 Cup.
Thank you. It was unexpected because we saw that the first one, the Porsche, was very fast, especially also in the Q1. But in Q2 I did his same time, but it didn't improve, so the pole position, it's fine. It's a great result for the first race.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's before, Johnny, we get the professionals getting their hands on these cars, because well, for the race tomorrow, that number 7 car will be ably assisted by Matteo Grassoni. Egidio Perfetti will have Klaus Bachler with him in the car that shares the front row. There is the overall classification, just under 0.7 of a second. TF Sports will be Ewan Hankey aboard that car. The 55 car will have none other than Adrian Quaife Hobbs in the car alongside the gentleman driver. It's going to be, I think, quite an enthralling race over full 2 hours around this classic Imola circuit. What a wonderful place to go motor racing.
And it'll happen sooner than you think, Graham, because it's actually today at 5 o'clock. It starts through till 7 p.m. So a 2-hour race to look forward to, racing into the evening. And Luigi Lucchini sharing with Matteo Grassoni, who knows how to fling a Ferrari around this place. But Luigi certainly wasn't hanging around. Certainly 2 wheels off the ground there, clipping the curb at Variante Alta, but collecting things up, charging his way into Rivazza. And when you sit up towards the top end of the seating on the inside of this bend, the cars just blast into this portion of the circuit. Great spectacle to watch them come out, fully off the track there as well, Luigi Lucchini. But clearly the stewards were happy with that, clipping the grasscrete as well to come across the line and set a 1:42.9. Congratulations then to BMS Scuderia Italia. They've been away for a little while, but back in GT racing with that classic livery, the red and white stripes on the roof, and that Ferrari 458 as it is, so slightly older machinery, doing the business and bettering the performance of the 488, which I'm sure will come good indeed.
Was that Christian Pescatore?
It may well have been.
I
helping
think that
to
was
push
Christian
the car
Pescatore there.
on the rear left corner of that car. So a regular with the team, helping with the ELMS officials to take the car into the scrutineering bay, where it will no doubt be weighed, and they'll check the ride height and a few other things as well. Big grin on your face, Graham. Does that bring back some memories?
Oh yeah, wonderful to see an old racer back, and with a team that we'd love to see a little bit more of, Johnny. It should say as well, the race will be live in full on GT3LeMansCup.com.
We'll bring you that later on from 5 p.m. local time through till 7 o'clock, the first GT3 Le Mans Cup race. Join us for that. From Graham and myself, Johnny Palmer. Bye for now.